Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch or at least a strong coffee. We're diving straight into a session that hits close to home for everyone in this room: cybersecurity. How do we stay protected in an environment where threats become increasingly faster, smarter, and unpredictable? Moderating this one is Paraskevas Panayi, Chief Information Security Officer at AstroBank. And if you're checking emails mid-session, just be careful which ones you're opening, yeah?
Hello everyone, welcome to IFX EXPO 2025. I am Paraskevas Panayi, I'm representing AstroBank, and we are here today to discuss about cybersecurity principle and practice. Our industry is evolving faster than ever. We have real-time payments, AI-powered trading, instant onboarding, but in this race of innovation, cybersecurity is the non-negotiable foundation. Without it, the speed becomes risk and the scale becomes exposure. So we have brought together today a powerhouse panel with cyber experts to drive us through. Our aim today is to go beyond theory. We want to discuss how we can transform cybersecurity principles into actionable daily operations for each organization. So let's allow some time for our esteemed panelists to introduce themselves, and then we will start our discussion. Gianni, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Ioannides, and I'm the partner in charge at Deloitte for the cyber services. I come with more than 15 years of experience in the field, started as a very technical person, and then moved into the management position. I've served clients all around the world, from Europe to the Middle East, so I'm happy to share any insights I have with you today.
Let's go, Nicolas.
Sure. It's 2 o'clock, so I hope you have energy to hear us in cybersecurity. So let's try to make it a bit interesting and interactive. I hope so. If you have questions and anything to ask, feel free. I took your role for a bit. So, so I'm Nicolas. I've been at Microsoft for 5 years. More on the commercial side. I cover cybersecurity, and I look after 90 customers across Greece, Cyprus, and Malta. So I cover large organizations, including Forex, gaming. And before that, I was living in London. I was working at Salesforce, and before that, I was working at Bloomberg. And so I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation to IFX.
Yeah, good afternoon as well. From my side, I'm Mirco. I belong to the Cybersecurity Solutions division out of Mastercard. So maybe you're wondering now why Cybersecurity Solutions, but if you recognize, Mastercard is now being, since 50 years, a cybersecurity company with payment services. So we have payment and security solutions, and I'm representing then the entire European landscape for Mastercard for the cybersecurity solutions.
Ivan.
Hello everyone, my name is Ivan Rojas. I work for Logica, a Brazilian-based tech company. We are the official platform for the Brazilian Stock Exchange, and we're about to become the official platform for the Mexican Stock Exchange and Argentinian Stock Exchange. I'm not a cybersecurity, I don't have a cybersecurity background, I'm on the sales side, but we of course face those issues on a day-to-day basis. People trying to do stuff in the region, assuming it's underprepared compared to other entities, so we have to keep up, and that's the reason I'm in this panel today.
And Panos?
Hi, I'm Panos. I'm running a boutique cybersecurity advisory firm, offering CISO, mainly virtual CISO services, GRC services, pen tests, and some mentoring to younger CISOs. I used to be the CISO of like eBank and then Bank of Cyprus. Now I'm in the process of helping the government building their own CISO office.
Great, okay. So let's begin where all cyber journeys should start, and this is governance. How do we define the ownership of cybersecurity in an organization? What happens when critical services are outsourced? And let's start with Mirco. Mirco.
Outsourcing, yeah, that's one of the major issues for all companies. However, if you are in the financial sector or in the non-financial sector, maybe you have read last week an article about the financial sector that they are getting breached via their third party. So each company, each organization has a responsibility to double check if I choose the right third party to drive my operations. Because we are seeing in Mastercard that roughly 60% of all the companies in the world are breached via their third parties. And this financial company was being breached over their third party, including this third party breaches 20 other organizations as well. 2 out of payment, the rest non-payment services, and the companies have lost their internal privacy data, including the telephone number, the mobile telephone number from their CEO. I think no one from us likes to see this kind of challenge. So if you outsource something, first of all, from risk management perspective, you are still responsible for your data. That's the key driver that the board of directors should understand, that they cannot share the responsibility outside their organization.
Yeah, thanks Mirco. Pano, you said that you're helping the government to build their CISO office.
Yes.
Are there any lessons learned from cybersecurity governance in the government, in the public sector, for SMEs or financial organizations?
Okay. It's a very hard job, first of all, because it's the public administration, I have to admit. So much different than when I was working with banks. Okay, public administration, one of the good things, let's focus on the good things of public administration. One of the good things public administration has is that they know to assign roles, they know to assign ownerships. Even though they don't assign it to the right people, to the right skilled people, still they know how to assign roles. Fintechs, on the other hand, if somebody thinks about assigning roles, actually it's a very good governance thing to assign the proper roles to people, to allocate proper roles. Fintechs in their rush to deliver, to produce products basically, sometimes they forget about assigning the right roles. And I guess trust, I'm sure trust is a very fragile thing. It takes ages to build, and it's very easy to destroy the trust. So if we could get something out of the public administration, is the good governance in cybersecurity matters, basically. I guess it's a very important thing to have very good governance.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Panos. Ivan, what would you say that it's one non-negotiable principle that each organization should embed from day one?
I'm just going to actually go back to the previous question, and I think from the public sector, the good thing is that they're not revenue driven most of the times, and on the private sector, since there's the profit seeking, oftentimes we tend to reduce a specific budget for the cybersecurity sector. We were just talking to some of the FX brokers, prop firms, and all that. And it's funny how anything marketing related, you go sell them and they buy it and actually pays double the price. And they usually allocate 20 to 30% of the revenue to marketing purposes. But for cybersecurity, oftentimes they only source 5%. And if they're short of marketing budget, they will reduce it to 3 and 2%. So to go to your question, I think that's the non-negotiable, that you should stick to it and start implementing it. And I personally think one of the things we do in the Logic in Brazil, we sell or we use our cybersecurity setup, technological setup, as a selling tool to our potential clients, which is something the brokers could start doing as well, brag about their cybersecurity setup, policies, and actually Something that they don't do much is brag about the specialists or the cybersecurity experts. You see, like, oh, we hired this marketing expert, we hired this business developers, but they never brag about the cybersecurity expert. So I think it's something they should and they can start doing since day one. Have clear budgets for specific cybersecurity protocols. Keep keep updating everything that it needs to all the trends and all the scams that are happening. One of our main issues, and we work on it to fix it, was the remote working conditions for the employees as we expand. Nelogica, it's for many people here, it's a new company. We've been 20 years in the industry, but the goal now is to go outside of Brazil. So for the first time in a long time, we face the issue of remote working within the company. So it's just take the measures, make a plan before everything is going to happen, stick to it, and actually revise it, test it as many times as possible against cybersecurity attacks.
Yeah, you're right. I was discussing with Yiannis just before we start. A challenge I believe we all have is finding these cybersecurity professionals to define these controls, implement, measure their maturity, their effectiveness. So this is a challenge, and as the threat landscape grows, this is becoming even more difficult for us to address. Yes, Panos?
Yes, if ever we try to run, security has to be designed from the beginning and use it as a competitive advantage, basically. See Apple, for example, not as an after an incident thing or an audit thing or a tick box thing after the event or after we deploy the whole thing and then we decide, let's see the security of the product.
Yes, of course.
But somehow it happens if we have new legislations or regulations out of Europe, that most of the companies are saying this is a big burden. I really love to thank you for the wording, and now this drives growth, innovation, and producing the right products for the people that should work with it. It's not, yes, maybe it's a burden, maybe you have to run investments. And by the way, I think this new kind of legislations are now helping any kind of companies, even fintech, smaller fintech companies, to understand what is really necessary to have the right implementation and setup for security and breaking silo way of thinking. So risk management in financial sector is really, they are just 99% looking on financial risk. With this new style of approach, bringing security into this company, even the risk management team has to learn, okay, I need to know something about IT risk because the stakeholders should have any kind of information. Currently, only 4% of the CEO or the board of directors have all necessary information to drive all their operational risk. And that's currently the status where we still see a rise of threats and the issues than in public and private sector. And the public sector is more often hit than we see because they don't have the money to ramp this thing up. And with the NIS2, first time in life in Europe, the regulator regulates themselves.
Yeah,
that's one of the issues.
A good point to discuss actually is, the threat landscape is expanding, it's becoming even more dynamic. We see AI, which is used as a shield and a weapon at the same time. We see ransomware attacks, supply chain breaches, insider threats, region-specific attacks. Maybe Nicolas can deep dive a bit about AI and how this can be used as a shield instead of a weapon.
Before I go to that, just to comment on what Ivan said and Panos and everyone else, I think it's, if we look at this from a top-down approach, and I mean, and just to see why are we here, first of all, why are we here? Because cybercrime, if you look at the studies, is the third largest economy in the world, the impact by cybercrime. So it's estimated to be at 8 trillion per year. So a lot of things are happening, right? And there's a lot of missed output because of cybercrime. Microsoft has come out, initially our CEO sent us an email last year and he said, cybersecurity is above all else. That was an internal memo. And we thought, okay, it's because of the attacks that are happening and it's just, something that is just for internal consumption. But we didn't stop there, and what Microsoft did, and what Microsoft is doing now, is the largest cybersecurity project in the world. We have 30,000 people working to make Microsoft more secure. Why are we doing that? And we're calling this the Secure Future Initiative. What does that mean? It means that you are secure by design, secure by default, and you ramp up to secure your operations. And I'm thinking, why is Microsoft doing this? Because if we're not secure, no one will be using our services, right? Everyone will be using
because
AI.
you're hosting almost all the water.
Exactly, but it's for us, it's not only a selling point, it's a matter of survival.
Yes.
And I think this is what people should think about it as. It's cybersecurity is the most critical foundation. And if you don't have the proper design from the beginning, and this is the crucial thing, fintechs have the advantage. You're not a dinosaur company that has been there, or a government that has been there for ages, and you have to redesign everything. No, you can do and change things quite easily, and you can put these principles. So now going to the matter of AI.
About AI, I know that AI is promoted as something that will help you be more efficient and more productive, but how can we use it from a security perspective?
Sure. So, first of all, I have this approach for AI as well. People are using it to become more productive, more efficient, but there's a lot of risk. And I'm talking to customers and they're worried about data sprawling, they're worried about data leakage, they're worried about prompt injection. So there's a lot of things that people are worried about, right? First of all, people need to secure AI. Organizations need to secure AI. Why? Because if you secure AI, you will even drive further adoption of AI. People will be making mistakes. That's 100% that they will be making mistakes. But organizations need to give them the confidence that they have their back. How do you do that? There's tools to do that. There's ways that automatically you can leverage AI to detect insider risk, people not doing the right thing, people starting to upload information to somewhere that they shouldn't be uploading information. So all of that can be detected in an automatic way. There's tools that automatically, with the support of AI, you can classify information. And then you can detect this abnormal behavior and stop them and block them. Now, this might be from someone inside your house doing something they shouldn't be doing, or someone trying to come externally inside your house. So that's one aspect. And the second aspect, imagine you can use AI as an assistant that could be doing the job of an analyst that you cannot hire because there's a massive shortage of security professionals, and we all know that. So I see AI as a way that you can even have agents. So you can have agents doing triaging. So what is it, triaging? It means that I get an alert and I need to understand if that alert is false positive or false negative. We have agents that can do that now. And you can use AI to ramp up skills. You can have a junior analyst having AI next to them, and they can ramp up and skill much faster. So I see many, many areas where AI can act as a great tool to support and make organizations more secure.
So AI can support organizations to detect or maybe predict something, but when we have an actual incident, we need to respond to it. Mm-hmm. So Yannick, can you please explain us how can we establish an efficient response, a playbook that actually will be used in real world?
Okay, let's see it from two perspectives. First of all, let's see the AI aspect, and then let's see a more pragmatic aspect that we can follow today. Just going back to your comments about AI, just like with security, now AI, we see a lot of ad hoc activities being done in organizations. So it's not a coordinated approach to either implement AI or implement security for that matter. So this causes a lot of problems because we go to organizations and we see that there are already users using Microsoft Copilot or whatever other tool for whatever reasons. And in some cases, or in many cases, it's uncontrolled or unmanaged, meaning that data end up anywhere. Clients don't agree to that, so it may lead to other things. Hence why we have things such as the EU AI Act coming out, and now we have to follow some guidelines. So initially, just like in security, we need to have a framework in place, we need to have policies and procedures to follow for the safe use of AI. Now, when it comes to response, again, this is a twofold approach where we have the defenders, people defending our network, that they can leverage AI tools to ingest all this traffic from different resources, normalize the traffic in real time, make sense of it, or at least give you an indication and allow you to make easier and faster decisions when it comes to your response. Okay? So when it comes to data and volumes of data, that was the biggest problem, and it's still the biggest problem when we go to organizations to do instant response. We get a bunch of data, maybe years long data, and we try to make sense of it. AI can be helpful in that. On the other side, the same way that it's being helpful for defenders, it's going to be helpful for attackers. And as usual, our attackers are one step ahead, and they have the benefit or the advantage of being able to attack just one company and be successful, where as defenders, we need to defend our network every day, all the time, year long. So what attackers are doing right now, and it's not science fiction anymore, is that they can very easily create phishing emails. They can perform an analysis of the organization, something that was being done manually. Now it's much easier to create a profile to identify where this organization could be vulnerable to. And then we go to other things such as deepfakes, which are becoming easier to do. So impersonation when it comes to financial companies, when it comes to social engineering attacks. So it's going to be a cat and mouse game throughout the years. Now, what kind of organizations, can they do to have an effective incident response plan? First of all, it is to have the proper governance. Always, you're going to hear the word governance a lot on this panel.
It's where the journey starts.
Exactly. And this is where you set the responsibilities. And now we're talking about small companies. So I'm talking from the perspective that they're not unlimited resources of people with different technical skills. So as an SME, we need to have the incident response playbooks. We need technical playbooks for our people that they're going to follow at least up to a point. And then you know what you don't know, and that's the point where you might need to bring in a third party to help you.
Great, but maybe there is a failure in design, what you're talking about at the end, if you bring in third parties. Because what we are seeing, and we are one of the provider for a supply chain risk management platform, what we see in projects is that organizations are missing to build out context. Yeah. They have a huge vast of data on their premises. They have their procedures, standards, whatever they are using, but they cannot build out the context. What does this, at the first stage, it's an issue or a vulnerability. The vulnerability is harmless as long as no one is misusing this one, but what does it really mean for my business? What does it mean if I work and sharing sensitive data to another third party and they're producing something for? So the entire stakeholders, the board of directors, the CISO department, vendor management, procurement, currently they doesn't talk to each other most of the time, and they doesn't see then the value of bringing the context. What does it mean? Because if I cannot produce or run my deliverables, maybe my third party is being out by a ransomware attack for 3 weeks, 2 months, maybe I cannot produce the stuff that I like to sell in the market, or I cannot run payment services. For example, for Mastercard, we are one of the most attacked companies in the world. So currently we have 200 attacks per minute, per day. We have around 3.2 million phishing attempts per annual. And we are carrying roughly 15 petabytes of very sensitive data. that needs to be protected. So now, if you shrink down this to SMB market, even they have a lot of data that needs to be protected. And if something happens, the damage of reputation, even for smaller fintech, it's quite high. And we see in our platform, smaller fintech companies are already being victim of cyber criminals without knowing this one, because the M&A phase is very quick in fintechs. So you need to be aware, should I really buy this company in my M&A or not? What do I get when I just merge two different data centers? And then it comes, even the larger organizations, like the Googles, Microsoft, whoever in the world, they're saying they're quite active now to protect themselves and other ones. It's true, but you said a very valuable point. If I have a bad risk score in a company saying, I'm selling you security, you don't have the trust, and you shouldn't have the trust to buy this kind of services from this organization. That's what I mean.
That's an interesting perspective.
Context.
That's an interesting perspective. Okay, Microsoft runs the biggest cybersecurity project. Mirco, you have provided some amazing insights, numbers of attacks to Mastercard. Ivan, do you see any threat trends specifically for Latin American markets?
I think it's very similar all around. Like the phishing emails, it's an issue, and like with actually going back to the AI question, it's getting more sophisticated, like more common, more frequent. Internally, actually, we run like a simulations of attacks just to help prepare for those types of incidents. But I think as a couple of years now, I don't know, it's my point of view, distances got shorter worldwide. So everything that is happening in Europe is happening in LATAM, probably like a couple of weeks later. I think in a way, LATAM has the advantage because oftentimes we're not the first target, so we're able to learn from what's happening in other places and prepare and update our systems. And oftentimes people do think we're left behind in many things, and it's not the case. We don't have as many incidents or issues as happens in Europe, Asia. Well, at least as people think. They'll say like, for every incident in the US, there's going to be 20 in LATAM. That's not the case. But like other than that, most of it is very similar. Many of the companies, Mastercard, Microsoft, they have big presence in LATAM. We're one of the biggest lines at the moment. Many people are getting like a banker, getting into the banking system as it wasn't before COVID. So I think we're in a good position at the moment. Take that as an invitation to do business in LATAM. But I think on that side, we're covered.
Okay. I would like to, if anyone has something to ask or something to comment, feel free about it. I would like to bring a full circle around what we're discussing now. This is a world defined by regulators, mainly. So whether this is called DORA, NIS2, or the EU Cybersecurity Act, or the EU AI Act, it's not about checking boxes anymore. So the clients need some assurance that the organizations are secure, the partners need some proof, the regulators need some evidence. So Panos, how do you think that all these regulations, DORA and IS2, are transforming the financial sector, but SMEs as well?
Okay, actually, as you very well stressed, these regulations do not really simply raise the bar. They are redefining actually how smaller SMEs and bigger organizations should work, should operate. If you really review these regulations, I believe we can stress three things that they drive the businesses doing better. The first one is security by design. Yeah. Security by design becomes not an audit thing and a nice techie thing, but it becomes a business, it shall become a business requirement. This is what they stress. The second one is that third-party risk, as we very well mentioned, it's not anymore again an IT thing or a compliance thing. It should be a board-level decision and discussion. And the third one that all of them converge is that technical tests, stress tests, phishing tests, simulations, any kind of test should be a new operational capability for an SME and not an audit thing. So it's security by design, it's third-party risk, and the various kind of tests and reporting shall be made part of our DNA within the company.
Yeah, actually, my next question is that what we have all experienced is that there is a gap between compliance and the real cybersecurity. So maybe Yanni, you can assist on this. Are we seeing now a convergence between compliance and the real cybersecurity, or are we still playing two different games?
Okay, I think Panos said the right word, that these regulations are, not just raising the bar, it's much more than that. This doesn't mean, however, that being compliant equals being mature or very mature, because every single thing in a regulation could be interpreted in certain ways and then implemented in a myriad of ways. So it could be in a manual way, it could be in an automated way. How are these regulations helping towards maturity? Is the fact that there is a lot of emphasis put to the top management. So we have now personal liability at the management boards, because we all know that we were reporting stuff to the management and then they were not understood. Now there is a requirement for the top management or the board to be cyber savvy. They need to understand cyber. Therefore, immediately the maturity bar goes higher. But sometimes being compliant also gives a false sense of security towards the management, and it doesn't stop at being compliant, which doesn't mean being mature at the highest level. Compliance and following regulations such as DORA and NIS2, it's a journey. It's going to take many years. It evolves. If it doesn't evolve and you remain stagnant, you're not becoming mature, you're just getting at the compliance level.
Okay, passing this compliance step, how do you think that an organization can show this trustworthiness to their clients? How can they show that they take security seriously and they protect their data?
Now, it's a matter, first, if we're doing business with someone, and then when we receive, as Deloitte, when we receive requirements from our clients that they want to see our minimum security requirements for this and that, we immediately know that our client is taking security seriously. Then, okay, maybe DORA and NIS2 do not come with a certification, but then certification services also show give some level of comforts to the clients.
Nicolas, what about Microsoft? It's a huge organization hosting almost all the world, as we said before. So I assume that all your clients need some assurance that everything is working fine there.
We spoke about the public announcement that Microsoft made, and the fact that we've made it quite clear that cybersecurity is number one priority for us as an organization. But in terms of certifications and ISO and all of that, of course, all of our products comply with those certifications. So I think that's also a good starting point. And I think I'm going back to this thing, it shouldn't be just a box ticking exercise. I've been through this audit, I'm compliant with this, because another regulation will come, something else will come up. The threat landscape is changing all the time. So I think people need to rethink about the operations and actually think that cybersecurity should be their number one priority. This should apply to every single organization, everywhere. Because if you are compromised, it's game over. I mean, if you are, let's say, an online payments company, a fintech, and you're compromised or you're facing supply chain risk, then it's game over. And just the last thing, I think it's also a cultural thing.
Yes.
So as part of this initiative that we have at Microsoft, we also have a process called Connect. We basically review and assess our impacts every 6 months. So we have a questionnaire to fill, and then we're saying, how did we make Microsoft a better place? What customers did we help? And so forth. This impacts our compensation at the end of the year. So since last year, one of the main pillars is how did we make Microsoft more secure? And we have to give examples of how did we make Microsoft more secure. And I have to say, I saw that there was a risk with some data that was shared in a Teams channel, and I reported it. I reported phishing messages. I started, classifying all of my documents. And this directly impacts your compensation. And even our executive committee, their compensation is directly impacted to how well we're performing in terms of cybersecurity.
That's very
so
good.
it's
Yeah. This is very good.
That's what I'm saying. It should be a cultural shift.
Of course. So I don't know about you guys, because you're very quiet. We're really enjoying this conversation, but I also see the timer there flashing. So we can have a final say from each of our panelists. Pano, we can start from you. A closing remark, let's say.
Okay. Do the obvious and the simpler things first. Do a basic cyber security hygiene. But if you want to really grow, you have to think security by design.
Yeah. Ivan?
Some of you guys mentioned, of course, they like checking the boxes is the first thing to do. But I'll say this is the minimum thing to do, and actually, there's have to be always like a showing the intention of doing something extra, like being compliant. Of course, compliant, like the laws are going to check on everything that they know at the moment, but like all the companies that need to go this step extra, well, like Mastercard and Microsoft are talking about, always try to keep up, and of course those are the third parties you want to be working with as your strategic partners.
Thank you, Ivan.
For those in this room here, and most of you need to be compliant or getting compliant with the DORA initiative. And I know from the practitioner point of view, because I see multiple financial companies across Europe use this as a chance to correct human errors, to correct the culture of the company, because this is your chance to develop something great, because you need to have the knowledge that 50% of the CISO departments said in former times, supply chain risk doesn't need to be transported to the upper management. And DORA runs this kind of change as well. Now, it's an obligation. You have to create those kind of reports. You get the questions from your CEO. You should also be aware, and that was a nice point from my colleague from Microsoft, if you get hit by a cyber criminal, traditionally game over. But you need to have the knowledge that if you look into your supply chain, and we from Mastercard see it according to our tools and mechanisms that we are using, 50% of the companies that hits by ransomware never ever do changes. They still keep their systems as they are.
Really?
And maybe you have to pay the ransom. It's not the company that is being a provider. And that's some maybe horrible stories at the end, but keep an eye open just to build something great, to have a proper security being in place.
Of course, because it reveals how difficult it is to change the culture. So if you are
We know every
change, then
it starts from ourselves.
Yes.
Even if we look in our private life, we know how it's not an easy task.
Yes.
But sometimes, or what I see is, in corporate environments, the people behave completely different than at home. At home, they are totally scared. No, I don't do this, I don't do that. But if I look now to the next level generation, no, I'm used to have my own router. I'm using my own application. So this is the next step of evaluation. Even that you need to control on the NIS2 or DORA, because this new generation bring everything to bypass security mechanisms in your companies. It's called shadow IT, and by 2028, from 20% shadow IT, it will grow up to 40% due to some breaches.
So we need to manage this.
Yeah.
Nicolas? I'm looking at the time, but I think everyone's covered what I wanted to say, but it's just a simple thought experiment, right? And I even say this to friends that have small businesses. So I asked them the following question: what happened if you lost all of your data, right? You have data. I mean, you have customer data, or even to friends. What happens if you lost all of your photos, your emails, your everything? And someone is asking you for money to give it back to you. How much would you pay? So this is the question. I think people need to answer this first. And when they think about that, and they understand the impact, and how much it would hurt, then usually that can start and bring the other changes that we spoke about.
Make them think differently, right? Yanni?
Yeah, so just to close on the regulations, I would say embrace these regulations as your vehicle to grow. So if you're an IT person, use the regulations as a way to get budget from the management. If you're the management of the organization, use that to, first of all, be compliant, second, have a secure your home, and then operate in a way which is more secure, is more unified, then you can more easily sleep at night.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insights, guys. What I would keep from this discussion, we went quickly through the governance, the threat landscape, and the regulatory framework. Whether you work in Argentina, in Colombia, in Cyprus, wherever you're located, from whatever sector you come from, the challenge is the same. We need to set priority to security to ensure the viability of any organization. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of IFX Expo 2025. And we are here to receive any questions. If you want to ask something. For you, yes. Yes.
Thank you for about cybersecurity. That's a quick question since we're at EXPO now. From your experience, what is the most difficult challenge area for brokers or fintech providers brokers when they're trying to implement these cybersecurity principles?
Does anybody want to?
If I could just very quickly, what I see as a problem in general is that first of all, people don't know how to start and what principles to follow. And what is also a problem, again, from what I'm seeing, is that there's a lot of, maybe there's technological debt and maybe they're using multiple platforms that don't talk to each other. So if you have multiple platforms in cybersecurity that don't talk to each other, that's a big problem. So I see the solution there is simplicity, and there is hope, of course, but there has to be simplicity and there has to be a platform approach which consolidates things and gives you more visibility and not having silos everywhere.
It's also an industry which moves quickly, scales up quickly, different jurisdictions, different requirements. Therefore, compliance or security sometimes become an obstacle when it comes to scaling up. So that's one of the problems that I would see for this type of industry. What would the solution be? Is again having something unified across all, and then keep building on the specific of each jurisdiction or each technology, but at least have a baseline of common security between all the technology or jurisdictions.
I have one more thing, sorry, but it's very simple. From my experience, the FX industry is much more than what people think, and we're exposed to many third-party vendors. And I think that's a reason specifically here, because many of the third-party vendors, since it's a small industry, the salesman is a friend of us or an ex-coworker. So we're using that to validate their security, and we're not like a double checking or making sure we're validating their credentials just because our friend is selling the service doesn't mean the company is trustworthy. So I see this happening a lot, and especially most of these brokers, they have 20 third-party vendors that are exposed in 20 different ways to cyber attacks. So that's probably what I have to say about that. Okay.
Okay. Are you covered, Dima? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of our